This is gonna get real big. I'm getting excited.
Okay.
Trying to calm down. Okay, this is super exciting, and why this conversation of the copyrights and trademarks is so important, because you can't be certifying people and stuff you don't own. You know, certifying people in a model that you don't have any ownership over. So this absolutely is an important step here.
This feels good to me. Like this is doable. I could do the research to get myself positioned for it.
You're going about this in such the best way that I'm just really excited for.
Yay.
What's the guy? Welcome back to another episode of the Seven Figure Educator Podcast. My name is Dr. Erica Jordan Thomas. I'm a former teacher, former principal, Harvard grad turned full-time entrepreneur. I am CEO of Seven Figure Educator, where we help educators just like you monetize their brilliance by packaging it into a seven-figure education consulting business. I am super excited to kick off another episode today. We have another hot seat episode, which means we have the opportunity to learn from a powerful, dynamic education entrepreneur who is building a thriving business. We get to go underneath the hood of their business, and I get to provide some feedback, coaching, and you get to learn through that experience. So I'm super excited to welcome Dr. Ayesha McArthur, who is CEO of McArthur Coaching and Consulting, and we're going to learn all about her and her business. So let's welcome Dr. Ayesha. Hey.
Thank you for having me.
I'm super excited to have you. Super excited to have you. Okay, so let's do a introduction of your story to the people. Tell the people a little bit about your background prior to going full-time in your business.
So prior to going full-time, I was an elementary school principal. I was a director of instruction, classroom teacher eons ago, didn't stay there very long, and also did a little short stint in central office where I was assistant superintendent for curriculum and instruction. So I've seen it all. I was in the classroom. I rose through the ranks quickly, loved being a building level leader. Central office I enjoyed, wasn't my jam. So I spent most of my time as a school leader.
My people.
Yes.
So talk to us about your business. What's the problem that you solve in your business?
So-
Which is probably going to come up during our
Yes.
hot seat time. But
Yes.
for the moment, this
Yes.
moment, what problem do you solve?
So the problem I solve is I help organizations create responsive programs that really reflect the needs and the strengths of their communities so that people can thrive.
Beautiful, beautiful. And who would you, if you had to name your target audience, just so that way people have that clarity, who would you define as your target audience?
I would say nonprofits, community-based organizations, government agencies, but like the faction within governments that deal with community services and resources.
Got it. Okay. And then what have your offers looked like leading up to this moment?
So leading up to this point, like my tier one offer has always been some sort of an audit or a review of some sort, like really looking at their program and evaluating it. And then the second tier of my offer, like my signature offer, traditionally has been to develop a program. And then tier three, which is more customized, is the developing the program and also supporting implementation.
Got it. And then let's talk a little bit in terms of revenue data. So let us know what your revenue was in 2024 and then your revenue year to date.
So in 2024, I ended the year, I believe it was 136,000. And year to date, I am at about 54,000. Yeah, not including the month of June. June's a big month.
Period.
June's a big month.
Period. Okay, and what's your goal for 2025?
Oh, my goal for 2025 is 330.
Okay.
I want to experience my first six-figure quarter.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And so given where you are of 54K year to date, we know June is going to be a big month.
Yep.
You are already tracking higher than 2024
Yes.
year to date.
Mm-hmm.
So you may have already done this, but this is a good tip for the audience, is we want to be thinking year to date, and then also really helpful measure is rolling year to date. And so your rolling 12 months revenue. So if Dr. Ayesha were to go into her books and she would actually look at what's the rolling past 12 months of her revenue, it gives a good snapshot of how her business is on track to growing. And so from this is June 1 all the way back to June 1 of 2024, the past rolling 12 months, it allows you to see the snapshot of, well, she ended the year at 136K in 2024, and we look at her rolling 12 months, her rolling 12 months might say 160, 180, which is already telling us she's growing at a faster pace than what she was in 2024. Okay, so let's talk through what your biggest challenges are in your business. And so you've sent me a couple of things just to kind of in prep to frame this conversation. We know that there's an experiment that you're going to be running.
Yes.
And so talk to me around the three biggest challenges, which it sounds like are all related to this experiment.
Yes. So one of the biggest projects, I call it my long-term engagement. So I've had it since June of 2023 when I got started on my own, stopped subcontracting. It was just me. I'm developing a program for a government agency that's going to be like their cornerstone program for their county residents who are really living at survival level, but they want to move towards stability. So I'm developing the curriculum, I'm developing also a facilitator's guide, and I'll do the training. One of my big problems or challenges, and what I'm trying to grapple with now is by December, the curriculum will be done. I will have finished with test piloting the program. Facilitators' guides will be finished. That government agency wants to sell the program across the state. They want to monetize it in terms of publication for them, but they've already talked to me about, but we want to bring you in, of course, because this is your intellectual property. You can then do the training for the other systems and the organizations that we sell this to, and you would also get the money for, the selling of the program. So my challenge is, how do I position myself to make sure that I am getting that I'm walking into the conversation around getting compensated for my intellectual property so that I am really able to monetize this program. Because even though I'm working in program development and I want to do this for other organizations, I'm going to end this year with a package program. So I want to be able to sell that program myself. It's great that, they have all these connections, they have conferences, so they want to do a launch of it at one of their conferences. That's awesome. They're one of the premier agencies within the state. Lots of other organizations come to them to look at their programs like this. So I have a leg up there, but also in the interim, I'm thinking now about, well, how can I start to leverage this work that I'm doing right now to start to make some connections with other organizations who want to buy my services?
Okay. So let me repeat back to the audience and try to contain my excitement around what you just shared. So you say that you have this opportunity, and it sounds like, given the offers that you named, and you might have heard Dr. Ayesha name tiers, which is a framework that we teach our clients in terms of how to package their offers into 3 different tiers. So you named your tiers of audit at tier 1, program development at tier 2, and then program development with a little bit more customization and exclusive support at tier 3. It sounds like you have this unique opportunity with a potential government agency who wants you to build a specific program that they would then purchase, and then it opens up the opportunity for potential licensing for other agencies that would either be partners of this kind of core organization or indirect connections, meaning there's an introduction. They have kind of these branches off to other government agencies, which would then be a whole nother slew of potential contracts.
Right.
Is that accurate?
That's accurate.
Okay. And then it sounds like the biggest question is, what does it look like? It sounds like there's a little bit of like packaging questions of like how to package this type of offer, because it's a little bit, what's different about this in comparison to your current tiers is there's this licensing aspect.
Right.
So what does the packaging from a licensing standpoint look like? And then I also heard the question of some IP, like what does it mean to actually protect the IP of this?
Yes.
Okay. So I think those are really interesting places to start. Couple of clarifying questions. So the program that you would build for them, it's not built yet, correct or incorrect?
No, I'm building it now.
You're building it now.
So they're paying me to build it now.
Got it.
Yep.
Got it. Okay. And at a high level, walk me through the components of the program.
Sure. So the framework is really designed to help people who are surviving. And I don't want to say in terms of socioeconomic level, because it could be someone who was divorced. Financially, they're fine, but emotionally or socially, not so much. So I've designed this program that's really an integrated approach. It's around helping people to really like recover who they lost along the way of life's challenges. So it starts off with helping them to identify just where they are in terms of their economic status, their emotional, their social, and their occupational status. So they do their own self-reflection to start, and then I walk them through every single model is on some element of wellness, emotional wellness, financial wellness, social wellness, and occupational wellness. And within each of these modules, the participants are really bringing like their lived experiences to the program, but they get these interactive activities to help them to build some capital in each area so that they can kind of craft out this new life plan for themselves so that they can work towards stability. And then the final module is just that. They're developing like their life plan, putting all those pieces together, and they'll present them. They'll have like a mini graduation, and they'll complete the program.
Got it. Got it. Okay. This is super exciting. Super exciting. So I think what's going to be really helpful is for us to be able to first define intellectual property and then identify where that exists in the pieces that you named. Yeah. So when we're thinking about intellectual property, and let me give a disclaimer, I'm not an IP lawyer, sharing expertise, do your due diligence, and we're going to enter into an IP conversation that I think is really helpful, and that's actually going to be one of the action steps. I'm going to give you an IP attorney rec, so that way, because some of this you are going to need an IP attorney to help you take some of these next steps, but let's actually sketch out and give you a vision of what it could look like so that way you can enter into that conversation with an opinion and a plan to then be able to solicit support from an IP attorney for. So when we're talking about intellectual property, we're really having a conversation in this case around copyrights and trademarks. Mm-hmm. And so there's also another form of intellectual property of patents, which wouldn't necessarily apply in this situation because when you think of patents, you think of like inventions and in my head, I'm like George Washington Carver, the patent king. But when we're thinking of IP, in this circumstance, we're thinking of copyrights. And when we say copyrights protect literary works. So anything that is a result of your own genius that's in a written format, you have the opportunity to copyright it. So that's going to be worksheets, that's going to be slides, that's going to be handouts, workbooks, any type of book. Because in this, I'm like, oh, it sounds like she got a book too.
Yeah.
That's embedded in this. Mm-hmm. And so all those things would fall under copyrights. Okay. And then we have trademarks, which are going to be things that you can protect that are either words, phrases, or designs. Hey there, I know I'm jumping in at a really juicy part of the episode, but I wanted to make sure you knew about a super special opportunity that me and my team have available. So imagine if you had a 90-day plan that outlines every single step you need to take every single week in order to generate at least 10K in your business. And that's exactly what me and my team do during our 7-figure strategic planning intensive. It is a live 6-hour workshop where we walk you through building your 90-day strategic plan to make more money in your business. Now, you have the opportunity to join us at our next intensive. And in order to do so, just click the link in the show notes to book a call with my team so we can tell you all about it. All right, we'll jump back into the episode and let's get back to this good fire content. So I'm actually going to sketch this out so that way we can start to map out which of these items are present in this offer. So that way you can start to build a list. Okay, these are the things that I'm going to need to explore copyrights and trademarks for. So that way you're able to enter into that convo with an IP attorney. So when we talk about copyrights, so we said that all those are literary works, worksheets, handouts, workbooks, books, all of those fall under copyrights. And then we got trademarks, which the way that I remember this is marks. So that's words, phrases, design. So for example, a couple of my trademarks are 7-figure educator. I have a trademark for. I have a trademark for Seven Figured. I have a trademark for Get Launch Consulting. All of those are words. I have a trademark for some of my logos. So those are designs, are marks.
Okay.
So you could trademark an actual logo or an image as a way to protect that aspect of your property. So given these two kind of buckets, and again, I think through marks here as words, phrases, designs, and then copy helps me remember like the literary aspect. I heard frameworks, modules with activities, live plan template, that and graduation. Those are kind of like the big components of this offer. Of those things, what would be items that would fall under the copyright column that you would want to protect?
Definitely the participants handbook, the facilitator's manual, the slide deck for the training.
Yep.
That's what jumps out at me.
Yep.
Yeah.
Would the life plan exist in the participant
Yes.
handbook?
Mhm.
Okay.
So the modules are going to be in the participant handbook.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. Got it. Okay. And then what would be some things that would fall under the trademark?
The name of the program?
Yep. What else?
The logo for the program? Those are the only two I could think of.
If there's any names or phrases that are embedded in the modules that are like,
because the participants are change makers.
so
That
if
may be
there's any type of language that you want to stamp that may not necessarily be the name of a program,
Right.
but you want to, it might be a name of the piece of your framework. Like for example, one of the trademark applications I have is for 7-figure strategic planning. Right? Where like, that's not necessarily a name of my program, but it is a part of my framework. And so because that's so core and essential to what we do, that's also another aspect that I would want to trademark. So anything that is specific to, from a branding standpoint, that you would want to protect, I would put that under the trademark category. A really great example of this is like with Pinky Cole's restaurant, Slutty Vegan. You'll see all the names of the sandwiches are trademarked.
Okay.
Right? So Slutty Vegan is trademarked, but then all the different sandwiches are also trademarked. So that's another way to think about it. If there's any branding in the modules or how you title the modules.
They are, and that's what I was thinking about, because each framework is a pillar of wellness. So that will probably get trademarked.
And this is because, you know, part of it is like, well, how do I define the line of where, like, do I trademark everything? Like what's the line? I always think through from a branding positioning standpoint, what is a word or phrase that I would want to be exclusive to my brand?
Okay.
Meaning that in the marketplace, I wouldn't want it to be confused if someone else used it. Like I want it to be exclusive to the work that we do. So for me, that's 7-figure educator, right? Like I don't want nobody else calling they products, they programs, they's events, 7-figure educator, because that's exclusive to me and my brand.
Okay.
Now we don't have a program, at least yet, called 7-figure educator, but that is something that's specific to me. My newsletter,
Right.
Millionaire Musings.
Okay.
I have a trademark application for that of like, that's something specific to my brand that I would want. I wouldn't want there to be confusion in the marketplace of someone else having that same language a part of their branding.
Got it. Okay.
So given that, does that bring up anything else under the trademark?
The name of the participants.
Okay.
Yep.
Yep. I love that.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you feel good about this list? Anything we should add, change, or adjust?
No, I feel good about it.
Okay. So so that's like piece number one of like protecting the IP. And then I also heard this other question of like, how do I structure this in a way that honors my knowledge and expertise? Because this is going to get real big, right? And so talk to me through what your vision is from a licensing standpoint. Is the vision that they're purely having access and you don't have any role in terms of training or development?
No.
Is there a vision of a train the trainer? Is there a vision of certification? So let me know, what's your vision when it comes to the licensing? What does that look like for you?
So my vision is twofold. It's that I would do a train the trainer module,
Okay.
and that the program be licensed so that it would have to be purchased, even though it would be published through the agency that's paying me. I would get, because that's my intellectual property, they're getting my program. So I would want the licensing for the program, but also that the training has to come through me, the train the trainer module.
Got it. Okay, I'm getting excited.
Okay.
Trying to calm down. Okay, so train the trainer model. With the train the trainer model, you're providing training. You train their people. And then once you train their people, they can train in their organization. Is that the vision?
They can train their facilitators, but what I would like to see happen is their certification for them being a train the trainer has an expiration, so they have to be retrained, and that comes back to me.
Got it. Okay, so what comes to mind is like a John Maxwell model, right? Where
I hadn't thought about that.
and so I think that's next step is start to research other, because essentially what you're doing is there's a little bit of a certification program aspect to this. Because when I hear you have to come back and renew, to me that then becomes certification versus licensing. Like when I think of a licensing, I think of the clearest examples are like in the software world, like Class Dojo or Discovery Ed, where like you're literally paying for access to a license to Class Dojo, and at the end of the year you got to renew the license, but there isn't really skill development or learning that's associated with that.
Right, it's both. They have to do that, but they also have to be retrained.
So from the retraining standpoint, that to me feels like a certification bucket.
Okay.
So this is super exciting, and why this conversation of the copyrights and trademarks is so important, because you can't be certifying people and stuff you don't own.
Right.
Right. Like you can't protect something that, or certifying people in a model that you don't have any ownership over. So this absolutely is an important step here. Okay. So from the train the trainer model, I'm hearing that there is two components of this. There is a training of the actual facilitators.
Yes.
And then I hear that there is also a certification pathway. A certification aspect to this as well. Okay. So here's a couple things to think about. So this right here is tier 3. Right? And when I'm saying tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, that goes back to our offers framework of how we price offers. Tier 3 is the highest price offer. It's priced to be most exclusive because it's most high touch. So if we're talking about training facilitators, this is a tier 3 offer. From a certification standpoint, I love the way that you're thinking about it, and to stamp it, this now becomes a monthly renewal opportunity where you can get certified for 12 months.
Right.
And then at the end of a 12-month period, you have to pay some type of fee to get retrained or get some type of CU or whatever that actually renews your certification. So that way you can keep doing the thing. So the pricing model here would be some type of renewal fee. Of where, and I think there's some back end things here to think about of like, if there's a certification, there's usually probably some type of access to training materials that on the back end, they get 12-month access to in order to maintain access. That's the purpose of that renewal fee, because at the end of that 12 months, access goes away and is gone unless you renew and or come to some type of, training in order to re-up. So from a train the trainer model, given that these are the two components, I would think of these as two separate offers. Even though they're like priced, they're together, I would price the facilitator training as one offer. I would price the certification as another.
Okay.
And tell me what your thoughts were at this stage when you were thinking about pricing.
For train the facilitator, I was thinking that should be anywhere from 49 to 52.
Okay. And then have you had any thoughts around
No.
the certification?
Mm-mm.
Okay. So here's what I would tell you to do.
Okay.
So this is where I'd want you to do a little bit of a market research. So like you can price this, but the tricky thing about pricing this is you're really pricing the intellectual property,
Right.
like the access, because from a delivery standpoint of a certification, there's very little like overhead related to delivery.
Right.
You're pricing for the value of access. So this is where I think market research is going to be really, really important.
Okay.
Of what are other similar models, certification models in the marketplace that you could go from a market research standpoint to be able to see what is the price point across the market, and then determine where do you want to price yourself.
Okay.
Do you want to price premium? Do you want to price mid-market? Do you want to price economical? No opinion, right? Wrong or indifferent, right? And some of this market research I would say is one, like going out into the marketplace, seeing other models, so like a John Maxwell model, Clifton Strength Finders model. Those are the two biggest, 5 dysfunctions of a team, like those certification models that are in the ecosystem that have a pretty significant footprint. Being able to actually do some market research. I've seen anywhere from like $5K to $15K per person.
Okay.
But then that's when you can decide, once you get at least 5, and you can ask ChatGPT.
Of course.
Right?
Of
And
course.
so I would get at least 5 to 10 data points.
Okay.
To then be able to get kind of a spectrum in the marketplace, and then to be able to determine, okay, where do you want to position yourself? Economical, mid-market, or premium pricing? And then be able to, once you have those 5 to 10 data points, you can equate who's considered premium in the marketplace, and that's how you're positioning yourself to then kind of do a checks and balance of that. But even when you determine that, I would then still have a pricing model that incentivizes more people.
Okay.
So that tiered, let's say if you decided to do a certification and let's say it's 10K per person, I'm throwing out numbers here. Maybe you say it's 10K up to 20.
Yeah. I wondered about that. That's good.
And then you could say 8K for the next 21 to 40. And then you could say 7,500 for 40 to 75. Again, I'm making up numbers, but you could do a tiered model that incentivizes people to enroll more folks.
Okay.
So there's lots of different like pricing incentives and strategies you could do there. And you could even do, enroll 5 people, get the 6 complimentary.
Okay.
So that's where I would use some of that one-on-one market research. I would have conversations with whether it's if there's a contact that makes sense in this current contract, and or people that are potential brand software in your own network that you can put some of these ideas in front of and say, hey, what price point feels too high, too low, just right? Which one of these pricing models feels most attractive? Is it a buy 5, get the 6 complimentary? Is it a tiered model that the price starts to come down as you go up? If you do this model, that just means you got to be priced right at the first 20.
Right. Yeah.
So tell me what your thoughts are about that. Hey y'all, I want to take a quick moment to pop in. I know the episode's getting really, really juicy, but I could not miss the opportunity to make sure that you know that we are headed to Atlanta October 3rd through 5th for 7-Figure Educator Live. This is my 3-day live event. It is the only 3-day live event for education consultants who are out here making a big impact and getting a big bank. And even if you feel like your bank ain't that big yet, I want you in the room because that's how your bank gets bigger, okay? I have curated a very special 3-day agenda that includes powerhouse speakers, 7, 8, 9-figure speakers, intentional networking to find your people, to find your next opportunity. Y'all, we're getting ready to take the city over, and we taking it over at a 5-star property, okay? Meet me in Atlanta, October 3rd through 5th. Grab your ticket by heading to 7figureeducator.com. I'll link it in the show notes, and I'll see you there.
I like that. Just because I've started to do a little bit of digging in some of the programs that are already out there in this like social services type of space.
Yeah.
And they do a lot of the programs, they have to get renewed. There's a number, a magic number that you have to hit, and this is what your fee is. It looks different if the training is done in person versus if it's done virtually. It looks different if you need to order more manuals. So this feels good to me. Like this is doable. I could do the research to get myself positioned for it.
And what's also interesting about this model is because this is a B2B model, business to business, which is when the contract is directly with the organization. There's also a potential B2B in this where you could be training people to do these trainings for you.
I thought about that longer term.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
So given what you're saying in terms of the potential of this, I'm like, I think she's going to need to duplicate herself.
Yeah.
Triple.
When they approached me about, we do this across the state where people buy the program from us. And I was like, oh, so that means when I develop it, people across the state can do that.
Right.
And yeah.
Right. Right. And then when they say buy it from them, what do they mean by that?
So they're using another company's program for a lot of their programming right now. And they get a small percentage from that company for other organizations throughout the state actually getting it through them.
Got it.
Yeah.
Oh, so they would get almost like a finder's fee.
Right.
Got it.
Right.
So then you need to include that in that price.
Okay. And the other piece of that too, I was just thinking about this, is they want to be able to use it for their facilitators. They paid me to develop it. So that would look very different.
Right.
Because they actually paid for this from inception.
Right. For them. Right. But if they're taking, let's say, 10% off, if it's a 10K offer, that means every 10K you're paying out 1,000 to them, or they're keeping 1,000. So that's why, from a number standpoint, you want to run your numbers of like what's in with the certification process. Like I was saying, a lot of the price comes from value, but there are some expenses. Like if we're talking about they're going to be taking a percentage off top, what's the learning management platform? Some of this is also like customer service, because as you continue to grow, you're going to have people ping in, I need my login reset.
Right.
I'm having whatever issues with the platform. So there might have to be the cost associated with some type of either like VA or an ops coordinator that just manages some customer service stuff related to that. So I would bake all of that into the cost. And maybe if you think about the certification program, it could be maybe there's an annual or biannual virtual summit for everybody who's certified.
Oh, I like that.
Where everybody comes together. And because a part of the certification piece is, particularly if they're renewing, you're going to have to make the experience what we would say sticky.
Right.
Of like, why would they want to stay? If I like know the content and I've already gone through it a year, yeah, she might be refreshing it. But like, what is going to get me to stay and want to be a part of this formal like certification? It's community of like, are the perks, or what do they get access to? And so I think that could even be an interesting like annual or biannual summit where maybe you bring in one or two really big speakers that it's a value add for them to be able to increase and build their skill set. And that's included in their certification cost as a ticket to that event. But then you just have to price for that. So those are just some of the expenses that you want to think about. But the bigger key headline is, how do you build community with people in that certification program? Because that's what's going to make it sticky for people to want to renew.
Okay.
All right. Given that, any anything feel as if it's left untied? Because we had talked about wanting clarity on the IP, wanting clarity on the container the program should go in for me to be able to scale it. And then
you covered that.
Should I build more general offers around the program as the signature offer?
Yeah, so I guess, so that piece of it is, I'm working on it now. It will be done in December, but I'm already projecting, okay, it's going to end in December. I have to do this legwork now, but what can I start to do in the interim just to start to almost like tease what's coming?
I would make that a whole marketing campaign.
Okay.
Yeah. And I mean, you could, there's something in this that could easily be a webinar topic.
I thought about that.
Right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, my brain is going webinar topic, open house, program preview, like different types of virtual events to be able to, like you said, tease, but also give insight into what you're building. So I think it could be really interesting to have a marketing campaign where you're literally showing the behind the scenes of building this.
Okay. Oh.
So like, I'll give you like a little example of this of like, that's low key, like one of my strategies with my book, right? Where like, I'm showing me writing, I'm talking about the behind the scenes of the process. So that way, when the book comes out, it's not like, oh, this new thing that nobody's heard about. Like people have been on the journey with me.
Okay.
So thinking through how can you take people on the journey of actually building this program. So that way that within itself is the teaser. I think that could be a really, really fascinating marketing campaign.
Okay.
Okay, so what are some of the next steps you got?
Oh, I have a lot. So let's see. My notes are kind of all over the place, but looking into copywriting for those three, trademarks for those, doing some more market research. Because like I said, I started and I really wanted to hone in on the programs they're already using because I had access to that data. So that's why I was like, let me do that. I even audited one of the training sessions and I was like, okay, let me take myself out of this because I don't, want it to be a conflict of interest. But to do some market research, just to look at the price points. I have a call actually set up with someone tomorrow who's in this field to start talking about the tier 3. So that's going to be helpful. Start to also think through, this is the one time that I wasn't relying on the pricing calculator. I knew this had to be about the value.
Right.
But what I hadn't considered, and I now need to, is thinking about all of the additional costs that are going to be associated with the pricing of this. Like knowing what the agency's going to get because they're the ones who are going to be mass producing this. Like I have to think about those things. And then start to also think about how to build community around this. And so I heard that in 2 different ways, thinking about a summit or biannual summit, which I know that a lot of these types of programs, they do that to keep people connected, but also how do I want to tease this out? So looking at my own marketing campaign for it. So those are like my next steps. Yeah, which are a lot of next steps, but I'm excited.
I mean, but I think that just speaks to like the weight of this offer, right? Like, because I mean, you're sitting on something that is getting ready to shift the trajectory of your business, right? In such a beautiful way. And the way that you're thinking about it of, okay, how do I build infrastructure now to prepare for what's to come? You're asking the right questions. You're protecting the IP part. Like you're going about this in such the best way that I'm just really excited for.
Yay.
What's the go? All right. Hopefully you all got some great nuggets from this episode. This was good. We got to talk IP. We got to talk licensing, which is totally 7-figure conversation. And so head to the comments and let me know your biggest takeaway. And if you found this episode meaningful, I got 2 requests for you, that you go and hit the subscribe button. So that way you are in the loop for when the next episode drops. And that way you share it with a friend, because sharing is caring. And we have no intentions of being the best kept secret around our blueprint for freedom, for financial freedom, building wealth for educators. And so we will see you back here on the next episode of the 7-Figure Educator Podcast. Bye now.